is about to get real dark. It shattered my soul and my heart. A man of God should inspire happiness, hope, joy. Instead, Father Lawrence Murphy chose to sexually abuse, potentially up to as many as 200 deaf boys. From 1950 to 1974, Father Murphy was the spiritual leader, and from 1963 onwards, the director of St. John's Boarding School for the Deaf. Father Murphy admitted to his crimes in 1993, but was still a priest at the time of his death in 1998. And despite abuse reported as early as 1973, the police simply didn't investigate. History repeats. The pattern is clear. Whenever a priest is a paedophile, the police don't want to go near. Such deceit! What did they fear? Investigating an innocent man accused of being a creep? Or the truth about sexually abused boys who can't hear? Who is deaf now? The children or the police? Did they try to keep the peace by allowing the deaf boys to be destroyed? Piece by piece. Deaf boys can't hear, but they can still scream. They can try to block it out, but deaf boys still dream. These boys may have been deaf, but that doesn't mean they didn't know how to beg or plead. Praying wasn't the only time that deaf boys were down on their knees. There's a picture of Father Murphy with the school's basketball team taken in 1962. 5 out of the 11 boys were sexually assaulted. Who would believe deaf boys over a man so exalted? And isn't that the truth? Abusing a position of authority and trust is what paedophile priests do. Those poor deaf boys probably thought they had no one else to turn to. How many people today are fluent in sign language? Father Murphy was. Of course, he understood their anguish. Father Murphy was the cause of their languish. It was an awful thing. I felt anger and shame. I am so sorry, Joe Daniels, that you've had to carry this pain. At the age of 62, when giving an interview, James Smith, when describing what happened to him, began to shake and cry. James Smith suffered decades of strife. They're just 2 boys out of possibly 200. They all have names. Their innocence was plundered and replaced with pain. One deaf boy who didn't want to give his name when interviewed said he was sexually abused for 6 years. He must have cried oceans of tears. Possibly 200 deaf boys traumatized for the rest of their lives. Father Murphy was placed on temporary sick leave and later simply reassigned. Stanza 16 drops 16th of April, 11:11 a.m.